Today we're going to be reviewing Helluva Season 2. So, I realized that I haven't exactly told you guys what Helluva is about altogether. Well, in this case, I'm not really going to do it for Season 2, mainly because of the fact that it's the same story, because the story is just continuing. So instead, I'll just tell you guys my brief history with the show itself. So, Helluva Season 2 isn't really that much to talk about in terms of my history with Season 2, and it has a lot to do with the fact that there's not much of a gap between waiting between Season 1 and 2, and there are a lot of reasons. Like, there are way too many reasons. The first reason is because of the fact that Season 1 wasn't really completed. It had one more episode left before the season was completed and moved on to Season 2. But that's the next problem. Season 2 began when Season 1 wasn't completed. Like, after Episode 7, Episode 8 was the 8th and final episode of the season, but due to a bunch of rights issues that I don't really know what they are in particular, if I had to put one particular guess in it, it was a long time ago. So I don't know the details anymore. But if I had to really say what the rights issues were, it was to have Kesha play Beelzebub in that very episode. So because of that, they didn't want to make us wait for Season 2, so they were like, we're just going to go on to Season 2 and release Episode 8 of Season 1 at some point in the future. So my stupid self thought that Episode 1 of Season 2 was Episode 8 because of how it went down. So in the first half of the episode, well, okay, I guess, no, it's more like Episode 1 is split into three factions. One is to show Stolas' backstory as a child. Like how he met Blitz, how we found out that it was an arranged marriage. His marriage with Stella is an arranged marriage with her. And we see how Stolas and Blitz actually met. And apparently they met since they were kids, but they've only met once. 2 times if you count his birthday when he saw Blitz's performance. And going into the time skip where they're now adults, so Stolas now has Octavia. He is married to Stella, and they have a party where apparently they're still married. Yeah, his marriage life with Stella is actually pretty bad. It's not as wholesome as we thought it was back in Season 1. Definitely back in Season 1 where Episode 2 was when everything fell apart. But then Blitz came into their life, and we basically know what Blitz had to do to get his business rolling, and it was to get Stolas' grimoire, which is hinted through his introduction as an adult. So going to the gala, he is caught and reprimanded and brought to Stolas, and, well, the rest is basically history. We basically know what happened that night, and, well, then we go right where we left Stolas. More specifically, we left him a little bit after. It's the same night of Episode 7, but it's like way late in the night. In my opinion, I think that's what they're insinuating. I think they're insinuating that it was later in the night. It wasn't like in the morning. At least it doesn't seem like it was the next day of that day. Anyway, we are introduced to the first amazing song so far by Stolas, Owl in a Cage, which I enjoyed amazingly. It was a short song, but his vocals was just amazing. We also get an argument between the two, mainly because of what Stolas did, but when you think about what Stella did to Stolas, it's not really that big of a deal because their relationship wasn't very wholesome. It wasn't very genuine. It doesn't seem like neither of them were happy being married to each other. So he did cheat, but not really cheat because she didn't care about him to begin with. Anyway, they got the divorce and they let all their emotions out, mainly Stolas. And it was the episode has a sad ending, but it still made me want Episode 2, and we waited a long time for Episode 2, but we also didn't wait that long for Episode 2. So Episode 2, in this one, we see the aftermath of Episode 1, where Stolas is trying to get all of Stella's things out of the castle, and before this happened, we see a little baby Octavia, as they were supposed to see an event in the solar system, I mean, as of the tears, I hope I said it right. But Solus was busy, and out of anger and frustration, Octavia was going to see the stars herself. And then we go to IMP, where apparently Blitz and Luna had a bit of an argument, and all he wanted was for her to be a people person, and well, she wasn't being a people person, and that's where their conflict comes into play. So Octavia successfully sneaks into the office, steals the book, and goes to Earth and tells Stolz about it. And the plot is just split into three storylines, and I will talk about them from my least favorite to my most favorite. And this one is the one that is the least developed, least focused on in the whole entire episode, and it's the plot between Millie and Moxie as they are trying to. Okay, Moxie, he sees a DVD. He buys a DVD from someone, and he has to earn money. When he buys it, he runs into someone else selling things, and that's basically it. We only see them twice in the whole episode when they split off. And when we see them again, she has a bag full of merchandise. And then we go to Luna, who's looking for Octavia. And there is a whole montage of her going to places where Octavia has already been. And they have a heart-to-heart conversation at the observatory. And then we go to the top, where my favorite storyline in episode 2, which is Stolas and Blitz, where Blitz is confused to be a celebrity known as Brandon Fraser, who is obviously a reference to Blitz voice actor Brandon Rogers, which I didn't realize it when I first saw the scene. I had to replay it, and even then I didn't get it. So when I first watched the episode, I looked up the character, and I realized who Brandon Rogers is. And it's because of Hello Boss in general I knew who he was. But before then, he was kind of like a Vine character. He was a Vine person. He made Vines on the internet. He made skits and stuff. And I mean, I kind of knew him, but I didn't know him all the way. Like, I remember his face. I just didn't know his name. So it was until episode 2 of Helluva Boss season 2 that I figured out who he was entirely. All in all, I did actually like this episode, but in terms of storytelling, I liked episode 1 of season 2 more. So we go to episode 3, and in this one, it's a Moxie episode. And in this one, we get an anonymous call from from Blitz about his next client. And we also find out that Millie bumped into an ex of hers. And as a result, they go to the Greed Ring, and they are introduced to an imp that looks exactly like Moxie. And we basically know where this is all going. That's actually Moxie's dad. And they do have some type of business that's going on. And we are introduced to Chaz, who is apparently both Millie and Moxie's ex. And it's soon revealed that Chaz actually got Moxie arrested, which led to him meeting Blitz. And there you have it. So throughout the entirety of the episode, Millie basically hates the crap out of Chaz, and Moxie isn't too fond of him either. It's revealed that Chaz is actually going to join the mob family, and after Moxie left and joined IMP, he had responsibilities in the mafia that his dad had to pick up and clean up, and as a result, his dad was going to force him back into the mafia just so that he can marry Chaz, and you basically get where this is going as well. And this has a lot to do with the fact that Chaz is actually rich, and the mafia needs Chaz's money. So Moxie is in an all-time confliction where he just doesn't want to make his dad angry, and we learn exactly as to why. His mom was nurturing, she was caring, and his dad, Crimson, while he was doing some things akin to being a dad, he was still very violent, and it's unclear exactly what happened to Moxie's mom. Most people believe that she died, but I feel like she just left him behind. But all things considered, I really hope she isn't dead. I actually hope she just went somewhere else to where she wasn't allowed to see Moxie again instead of herself getting killed. All in all, the episode does lead to Moxie standing up for for himself, so that he doesn't marry Chaz and leave with his friends. And Blitz does find out that Chaz isn't exactly rich, and then we go to Millie, who basically saves everyone, or at least helps everyone save Moxie. And this is where I have one little. This episode was really funny. There was a lot of moments I did laugh at, but the problem with this episode is that I wished that Millie was the one that was captured and not Moxie, because he was the one standing up to his dad, but he's the one who gets captured. And I wish that Moxie was the one that was killing everyone in the mafia alongside Blitz, even though he was kind of still drugged by Chaz. He still had some things to do in the overall in that fight, but still, I still wish that the roles were reversed. But in the end, I still enjoyed it, and Crimson straight up kills Chaz after he found out that he's not actually rich and played him and lied to him. But I don't really think that is what happened. I guess it's okay to say that he did die, but I felt like it would have made more sense that he just took his teeth. But this is a violent adult animated show, so him getting killed seems the most likely scenario. Now, the next episode, we finally have the Striker storyline colliding with Stolas. So we basically know that Stella hired Striker to kill Stolas, and it's been a long time, like a really long time, since we saw Striker. So he successfully captures him and is going to take him down to his lair, and the plot basically divides into two plots. So plot A, at least in my opinion, okay, technically there's three plots, but I'm going to consider this two plots. The first plot, the main plot, is Millie and Moxie trying to hunt down where Striker is so they can save Stolas. The second one is Blitz going to Luna's vet so that she can get her shot. And being a hellhound, well, you can imagine what went on with her. All in all, I did actually like Millie and Moxie's storyline more, because there was actually, well, okay, not really. A lot happened in the plot, and if I really had to count this one as plot 3, then the next plot is just Striker torturing Stolas for a really long time. We do bring up that there is some level of lore with Striker, with the Ars Goetia, or the Blue Blood, where he had important things that the Royals took away from him, which led him to be a bounty hunter of some kind. And I feel like we aren't going to learn who was taken from him by the Bloods at any point in the story. Considering how Season 2 wrapped up, I don't think we're going to get that answer. Maybe we'll get that in Season 3, or maybe Season 4, since it's the final season, but right now, we're not going to get that answer. Striker right now, and to this day, is still my favorite Helluva Boss villain. And, well, as the season goes on, he does kind of dilate down. He's not as menacing as he was in episode 5, and it begins, I believe, in episode 6 of season 2, but no, episode 6 of season 2, but we'll get there when we get to episode 6. Then we go to the fighting scene, which I actually really liked. We went between what Millie and Moxie's doing and what Blitz and Luna's doing, and the song is kind of the same in terms of, okay, not really. They both say what you think about now, and one is country rock, but then after the sword jams into the boombox, it's like a funky pop song, but which I feel like fitted the fight scene more, in my opinion. That's just how I feel about it. Anyway, they successfully save Stolas, and the reason why Striker lost was all because Moxie acted like he liked being choked. And Striker's reaction to it was amazing. But yeah, after they saved Stolas, he goes to the hospital in the Sloth Ring, and Blitz finds out that Stolas can get hurt. I like to assume that he never saw Stolas get hurt by anyone or anything, because he never lost a fight or lost anything violent before, at least in Blitz's case. So I think that's why he was so shocked. And yeah, his reaction to it that really got me. That really did get me. So the next episode is episode 5, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is like literally the worst episode in season 2. No, this isn't just the worst episode in season 2. This is the worst episode in the whole series, in my opinion. Like, I tried to like it, but there were just too many awkward and embarrassing scenes. The only thing that I cared about in this whole episode was Blitz finding his sister, which also led to nothing because she doesn't want nothing to do with him. In the end, I understand what Vivian was trying to do. Blitz has a sister, and all the fans wanted to see her. We finally got it, but in the end, it just, I just did not like this episode. The only good thing out of it is that we finally got to see Blitz's sister, and that was it. So the next episode is Oops, and in this one, Blitz and his old childhood friend and circus partner Fizzaroli gets captured after a conflict between the two. They had a street fight after meeting each other in the greed ring and was captured by Stryker, hired by, you guessed it, or maybe not, if you have watched it, you basically know who it was, and it is Crimson, Moxie's dad. Now, I didn't expect to see him come back this early in the series, because that's never happened before. It's one thing to see Stryker again, like 1 episode, 2 episodes later, but it's another thing to see Crimson 2 episodes later, 3 episodes later, and there are 3 plots. No, there are 2 plots. Plot 1 is Blitz and Fizzaroli trying to escape Crimson and Stryker. 2 characters I didn't think we would see teaming up at all, and we would also see Asmodeus and Stolas writing a petition to save Fizzaroli, because Fizzaroli and Asmodeus is in a somewhat romantic relationship that is a secret. It's a secret, and everyone is trying to cover it. But we basically know what's going on here. And honestly, at that point, that was my favorite episode. Like, when this episode first came out of the 6 that came out, it replaced episode 1 as my favorite episode. We got so many lore dumped between the two, like how Blitz has his scar, how Fizzaroli got his limbs, what happened in the circus, and apparently, well, what happened was that I believe it was Fizzaroli's birthday, and Fizzaroli was basically the best clown in the circus business, and no one really liked Blitz at all. Like, his own dad favored someone that wasn't his son, and he did have a card, but he threw it away, and as a result, a cake fell down, and it burned the tent, and fireworks blew up in Fizzaroli's face, losing his horns, burning his face except for his nose, and burning off all of his limbs, and making him robotic. And it's revealed that he did try to see Fizzaroli after the incident, but they said that they didn't want to see him. And people said to Fizzaroli that no one told him that he tried to come and see him. Now, they both said, oh, and I did want to say that it was someone else. I did think that it was Mammon, because I do believe that he was working with Mammon around this time, or at least was in the early stage of working with him. But now I do believe that right now, it wasn't Mammon, it was actually Blitz's dad, which makes a lot more sense when you really think about it. The overall episode was really funny, and I did actually like the song Look at This. It was a really good and a really amazing song that I really liked from Fizzaroli. It was a song that I sung almost every day, and all in all, I did actually like the end of the episode. This episode patched up the rivalry, the conflict, the inner turmoil that Blitz and Fizzaroli had since the incident. But over the course of 2 episodes, apparently, which was episode 6 and 7, their friendship actually began to rebuild, and I really liked that. It was amazing. So going into episode 7, which acts as the mid-season finale for season 2, which I feel like that should have been episode 6, but okay. In this one, it's full-on focused on Fizzaroli, and we are introduced to the next sin, the next king of sin, named Mammon, and he's funny, but he ain't He's not Valentino. He's not Valentino. Like, he reminds me of Valentino in ways, just not what he's good at. Because he's the sin of greed. I get that, and we also see Asmodeus, who's also there. So the whole episode is just Blitz and Asmodeus and Fizzaroli. And Fizzaroli is in a contest to be the running champion of being Mammon's clown and jester. Because he's like famous in the Greed Ring, I believe. I do believe he's famous all over Hell, but he seems to be the most famous in Greed. And it felt like a full-on musical because we had like, how many songs did we have? I think we had like about 4 or 5 songs. I'm sure I got it wrong. And my favorite song out of all of them, my favorite song is the last song. I'm not gonna say that's the song. I'm not gonna say the name of the song. You guys know the name. I'm not gonna say it. And that was actually an amazing spectacle. I really liked that song, and I really liked when he just went and quit, because before that song, Crooked, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the song between Fizzaroli and Asmodeus was an amazing song. I really liked it. To me, this was Fizzaroli realizing he did not need to do any of this for Mammon, because in the end of the day, if he was to quit right now, he still has somewhere to go. He still has someone to be with. There's still someone waiting for him at home, and it's Asmodeus. So when he quit, that was a good moment. I loved that moment. And then we have Mammon threatening him, but then Asmodeus comes in to save him, and he goes and reveals that he is in love with Fizzaroli. And even though Mammon did say he will regret this, after watching the entirety of Season 2, Mammon hasn't done anything to make Asmodeus regret it, so I think we'll be fine, at least until Season 3's episodes comes into play. So now, we did have to wait a really long time, but Episode 8, Full Moon, was not my most anticipated episode, but it was nice to finally see the series comes into play. So the episode opens with a musical number, When I See Him Tonight, and I sang that song so many times. I did like the episode, but it wasn't my favorite. I really liked it, but the problem is something that everyone who reviewed this episode had the same problem. It had 2 plots that should have been its own episode. The first plot was the Cherubs teaming up with the Demon Hunters to get revenge on Blitz after they were not allowed to go back into heaven. And the second plot is Stolas getting ready to get his grimoire, give Blitz the Asmodean crystal so he can go to Earth and back to Hell freely, so he doesn't have to go illegally. But that also makes Blitz and IMP under Asmodeus' jurisdiction, but I don't think that's really a bad thing, so, you know. Anyway, Blitz doesn't take it that way. Instead, he takes it as a role playing. He doesn't take him seriously, and the episode ends with the 2 of them arguing. And that whole entire scene shook me. It didn't make me cry, it didn't break me, but it shook me. And the way that it ended, I had to wait a whole month to see what was going to happen next in episode 9, which is Apology Tour. And an Apology Tour was my favorite. This was my most anticipated episodes. When they made a trailer for the remaining 5 episodes, Apology Tour was my most anticipated episode out of the 5. So you can imagine how hyped I was when we finally got the episode. So this episode is basically, it kind of feels like a 2-parter between the 2 episodes, even though it's not the final episode. In my opinion, episode 8, I kind of wish episode 8 for season 2 was the final episode, because it just felt right to end it there and just make new episodes, episode 9 and 12, along with an extra 4 be the new episodes for season 3. But in the end, I still liked it. It was still pretty good. So with episode 9, Bliss is trying to talk to Stolas. He wants to feel like he's earning his way to Earth whenever he gets a client and goes on his job. So he does try to have fun with Stolas, but But the first part of the episode is just a full-on argument between the two. He reveals that Stolas. He revealed that he knew that Stolas was trying to kill him, which furthered the overall argument. And Stolas does continue to tell Blitz that he's never looked down on him. He's always cared about him, but Blitz just doesn't seem to believe it and just doesn't accept it. And then the rest of the episode is just about Blitz going on an apology tour, saying sorry to everyone he screwed over. But in the end, we realize he didn't really mean it, because in the end, he wanted to say sorry to Stolas for everything that he's done. And what made it sad in this episode is that, yeah, the anti-Blitz party was really great. I loved it. And I really did love the song All to You, which was also a really sad song, but I still liked it. But what we get from Stolas, it's even more sad. All Stolas has ever wanted was to not be alone. He wanted to be someone's someone. He wanted someone to want him in a romantic way. And when he gets deeper into it, I felt bad. Blitz felt bad. What Blitz was feeling, I felt it too. I mean, yeah, I felt bad for him. And then he has a heart-to-heart chat with Verosika, because she came back. And, well, yeah, the argument did not go the way I thought it did. But in the end of the day, it still went fine. I just wish that we saw more of her. Like, I still wish we saw more of her. I mean, we did, like, in one part of episode 11, but that's about it. I did actually still enjoy it, and the episode does end. It ends pretty sad, but not in the sense that you end up crying. Just like, you wish Blitz didn't. It didn't end well for Blitz that after that end of the episode. But now we go to the next episode, which aired, which streamed on YouTube on the perfect time, because this episode is called Ghost. I'm not going to say the rest of it. So Ghost takes place after episode 9. It seems like these episodes are taking place after each other, from one another, from the rest of the season. At least that's what it seems like. And Millie comes home and finds that Moxie hasn't came home yet. And Luna and Blitz hasn't came home because they were shredding. Alright, so let's get this all out of the way one by one. So Luna never went home. She stayed in the office shredding all of the paperwork. And Moxie is going through a money crisis with the company, as they are going to be bankrupt soon. And, well, Blitz isn't taking the breakup. I guess it's not really a breakup because they weren't in a relationship, but he's eating a lot of junk food, and he has a lot of, like, horse plates that he's going to keep for a few years and then sell it to help his company. And then when a client comes in to they tell the company, they tell IMP that they were attacked by a ghost, but they find out that ghosts aren't real, so they go to take the job anyway, and they go to a motel and investigate it Scooby-Doo style. Now, okay, so apparently a bunch of episodes for season 2 were leaked, and one in particular was Ghost, and apparently there was going to be a whole full-on fight between all of IMP and Ronaldo, the main villain of the episode, where they were in a mansion. And I do believe that this was still going to be I think what happened was that this was going to be a mansion. They were going to fight in a haunted mansion, but then it was turned into a hotel, but then it was dialed down to a motel. And overall, I still liked what we got instead, because the episode, when they started looking for the ghost in said motel, like I said, when I said Scooby-Doo style, there was literally a chase scene that was like Scooby-Doo, when they were going through the doors and everyone was going through other doors and a multitude of people going through other doors. It was still a very funny scene. Then we actually see Blitz get haunted by said ghost, and we see a multitude of variations of Millies of what they would have looked like if they were killed in certain episodes from season 1 all over, like all 8 of the episodes. But in this case, I'm not gonna mention all of them. All you need to know is that there were like 8 of them, 8 or 6 of them, and they were all killed in different ways in different episodes. So after he sees his mom, we literally see her burn in green flames, and we constantly see Blitz, and then we see Blitz say he's constantly saying he's sorry, please, I'm sorry, and it's revealed that he's actually in another room, and Millie finds him, and then we see how Blitz met Moxie. Then I realized something. Season 2 was not only the aftermath of everything that happened in season 1 with episodes expanding on other episodes, but it was also to show how Blitz met every member of IMP, because Blitz met Luna in episode 2. We saw how he met her. In episode 3, we saw how he met Moxie. And it took a long time because we had to wait until episode 10, but we saw how how Blitz met Millie. And then we saw little tiny glimpses of how they became IMP. But beforehand, he met Millie. Apparently, she interfered with a job he was doing when he was creating IMP, and then a fight broke out between the two. One thing led to another. We wanted her to join his business because he wanted to make it. He wanted to show imps that they could make it in terms of making a business, and that's why IMP was made. So after all of that was resolved, they faced the ghost, and apparently there was no such thing as a ghost. I believe they were facing an imp. No, they were facing a demon from hell, their world, that was from, I believe, the Greed Ring, and he had like this type of illusion type of magic, but he still had the power similar to a ghost. So he had the power similar to a ghost, but he wasn't actually a ghost. And the overall fight was amazing. He possessed Blitz, and Millie had to fight him, and the fight was actually really great, and ended with Blitz killing Ronaldo after smacking him into the pool, and he throws his vacuum in the pool, electrocuting him, and his defeat was amazing. The episode ends the resolve from which the conflict that Blitz was having, and they do have one more moment together, and the episode does actually end in a funny note where it seemed like Moxie figured out the problem, but Luna pointed out he forgot to carry a number, and he was about to crash out, but Luna laid him down, gave him ice cream, and they were putting on a musical for Moxie, and the episode ended. That episode was, once again, very funny, and I got super excited to see episode 11 and 12, which is what we're going to be talking about now. And episode 11 seems to be the culmination of, I believe, 18 episodes of the entire series, where all it took, what happens in episode 11 and 12 happened because Stella said something that would have shook the whole series, from the beginning. Like, if she just revealed it, and I believe episode 4, yeah, what happens in episode 11 would have happened in episode 4 or maybe even episode 5 at some point. And she revealed to Andrilphus, who is Stella's brother, that recently Blitz dumped Stolas dumped Blitz, and he found out that Blitz was just using him to get access to his grimoire, and apparently an imp using a device or a artifact or an item that is demon royalty is super illegal. So as a result, IMP is arrested, and we are presented by all leaders of the sins, except for Lucifer, because the reason is obvious. And the whole scene, all these reveals, it was amazing to see all of these reveals. And it was nice to see all these characters together. It was nice to see Beelzebub and Asmodeus clowning down on Mammon. It was also nice to see that. It was weird, but it was also nice seeing Mammon flirting with Leviathan. I believe that's her name. And yeah, that's basically everything in terms of the sins. And it was nice. What was most anticipated for me was seeing Satan, the King of Wrath, and I wasn't sure what he was going to look like. So seeing him as a giant dragon man was a surprise, but it was a good surprise. And Androphus twisting the information that we were given in the series by revealing to everyone that Blitz forced himself on Stolas or even plotted to have him executed, making it as if he was the one who hired Stryker, but obviously it wasn't Blitz. And just as when everyone in hell was going to see the execution of Blitz, like everyone was going to see this. Everyone who either liked or hated him saw this. So Fizzaroli saw this. Veroska Mayday saw this. And luckily, Stolas saw this. And he interfered. And Mastermind, both the name of the episode and a song for it, that was also really great too. I actually love that song as well. And after revealing, okay, what was going to happen was that Blitz was going to take the fall for it. Like, he was the one behind all of it. He was the rogue. He was the one behind all of it, just so that Luna, Millie, and Moxie could survive. And it was sad when Luna was going to see her adopted dad die in front of her. Like, through the previous episodes, yeah, there are moments where Luna seems to be embarrassed with him, but then there are moments where she actually appreciates Blitz as an actual dad. She even goes out of her way of calling her dad. So when his execution was about to begin, Stolas came in, sang a song, said that he was behind it all, and man, that was just that last part before Satan's part comes in. That part, oh my gosh. The duet between those two was amazing. It was sad at the same time. But in the end, IMP was spared and Stolas was going to be executed, or at least that's what we thought. But no, he wasn't. Instead, he was stripped of his status as a royalty for the next 100 years. But I thought 100 years was a really long time, but apparently it is not, because in Drillfist, the way he reacted, it wasn't that long. So 100 years probably equals like a decade or 5 years for Ars Goetia. If it's that, because how do you react that way of being in charge for 100 years, but when 100 years is like really long for you, it's like super long. I'll never know. But after surviving the execution, Blitz basically becomes a celebrity, and now everyone likes him. But the problem is that when we go into episode 12, you'll see why I feel like what his impact as a celebrity wasn't as big for the series as it was intended to. Unless we're going to see that come over into season 3 onward. If not, then there was really no point of him having that kind of ending. So, going into episode 12, which is a Christmas-themed episode, which is titled Sinsmas, and apparently Sinsmas is like their version of Christmas, where they basically celebrate their sin, so the 7 sins, so pride, wrath, all those other ones. So, in this episode, just like episode 11, it was an aftermath. Yeah, so basically every episode from episode 8 is like an aftermath of each other, because like episode 9 is an aftermath of episode 8, episode 10 is aftermath of episode 9, episode 11 is aftermath of episode 10, because of a few elements sprinkled in there, and episode 12 is the aftermath of episode 11, so on and so forth. So we have a montage where they are shopping for clothes, where Bliss is shopping for clothes for Stolas and giving him food that he likes, and they go to work, and Stolas realizes that he is poor, which it wasn't a sad moment, but it was a bit awkward in my opinion, because he was crying and stuff. We also get a client that I believe it's supposed to be like a Karen, because she kind of, complains like one. And they go on a job where they want her to kill her husband because he cheated on her, and we basically know where this is going. So we also see how Octavia feels about her dad leaving her because of what happened. And she has a full-on song where she basically gives up on him, or at least that's what it seems like, and it definitely does seems like that. And then there is a huge climactic fight. Oh wait, before this, they go to the human world and they see the family. And when they go to the human world, it's snowing, it's cold, and out of nowhere, Millie throws up. Don't worry, we're gonna get to that. And then we go back to Hell, and there was this one funny scene where Blitz straight up beats up Andreofist and doesn't do anything until, like, after he stomps him with an ice statue, he's about to punch him again. And then he actually does something, and IMP goes to save him, and that was actually a really good fight. And just as when Androphis has the upper hand against them all, Octavia comes in to save them. And everything goes all well and good, but then we have that third act breakup type of scene where Stolas and Octavia has an argument. Well, Octavia in particular, not Stolas. He tries to calm her down, he tries to make her understand, but she just doesn't believe it. And, well, yeah, she just doesn't believe it. And it is really sad. It was a really sad scene. And then things start to get uplifting when they have a Christmas party, or I guess a Sinmas party. And it seems that Millie is just trying to see something. She goes in the hallway and sees her and calls her sister. And it's revealed that the reason why Millie had all these mood swings, you see where I'm going here? The reason why she threw up is because Millie is pregnant. And I don't know how they're going to do this for season 3 or 4, but I feel like it's going to be revealed in season 3, and she's going to have the baby in season 4. And oh my gosh, I can see why this is stressful for her, but man, oh my gosh, I am really curious as to how this all goes into play. I rewatched the episode, and it made a lot of sense as to why Stolas was actually really worried about Millie, because, fun fact, owls can tell when someone or something is pregnant. So when he saw Millie fighting Moxie, he already knew that she was pregnant. So I can't wait to see it. I feel like we're going to have an episode where he confronts Millie about this, but hopefully it's not like an argument. I'm hoping that. But all things considered, season 2 is a mixed bag, but I think that it's more of an improvement of what we got for season 1. I love season 2. Everything about it is just amazing. I love it. There's nothing I would rather change for it. And every episode was amazing except for one. There's only one episode that I hated in season 2, but the entire series, and that's episode 5. But the whole series was just amazing, and I wouldn't change anything about it. I'm super excited for season 3 and 4, as it seems like they're going to be airing in its entirety, because Helluva Boss is now going to be on Prime Video, but it's going to continue to be on YouTube, and the creative control will still stay with Spindlehorse. So they'll be making 30 more episodes, and we'll be splitting it up into 2 seasons, and after they're done, after a month, they will release it in its entirety on YouTube. So I feel like it's hard to say how that is going to happen. Like right after they finish them, are they going to air the episodes back to back? Or are they going to do it yearly? So they're going to air the episodes in 15 weeks because of the 15 episodes, and then do the same next year. And then we're going to have to wait a month for each of them so that they can both be on YouTube. Whichever is the case, I am all on for that. And this also means that the IMP gang and Has Been Hotel gang can cross over, because Vivian has mentioned that she does want to make a crossover movie between the two shows, and I think a crossover movie is much more bigger than a crossover episode any day. But here's my rating. I'm going to give the story a 9 out of 10, because it loses a point just because like, I do love season 2. But when you watch the show all together, there are still story threads that haven't been answered yet, or are going to be answered soon, but wasn't all the way. And it's also because episode 5 is just the worst episode in the whole series for season 2. And I'm going to give season 2 in general a 10 out of 10. Just because every episode from episode 8 onward just made me love the series even more.